Hey guys, this is Moose, and she wants to introduce you to an astronomical accessory she recently bought, and that is a Takahashi turret. And she is real happy with it. Say hello, Moose. Alright, let's open this up and see what we have. Alright, so let's take these peanuts. Let's see here. I'll just brush them aside. Alright, so Takahashi. Let's see, that is the Takahashi 4 turret TKA 00404. And I got this from Land, Sea, and Sky. I ordered this on Monday, July the 11th of 22, and received it on July 14th of 22, which was a Wednesday. So it looks like it's packaged nicely. A box with some nice bubble wrap around it. So let's see if we can do this neatly. And the outside of the box, pretty much just plain. And let's see, it looks like we've got some instructions in Japanese, of course. Some bubble wrap on top, and inside we have the unit right there, nicely wrapped to keep it. We got another side piece there, some bubble wrap on the bottom, and let's gently slide this bad boy out. Yeah, let's see, I guess I could cut carefully. There we go. Always be careful with your utility knives. I got cut real bad when I was a carpenter and I first started out, and I didn't do things right. Now that is beautiful. That is sweet. Alright, let's get rid of all these wrappers. Very happy with the way that it was shipped, carefully wrapped in bubble wrap, and we also have some cellophane on top, not cellophane, but a bag on top. So let me get this out of here. And let's take a look at the subject at hand. First thing I notice is this came with covers. Very nice. Beautiful. I've owned a Takahashi FS102, and the only reason I ended up getting rid of it is because I got a Astrophysics 130 GT, but the Takahashi is a beautiful performer, excellent scope. I will state I paid $580, and I didn't know it at the time, and then when I saw my Discover app showed, I ended up paying more. Excuse me. So I called them back, and the lady had mentioned that I'm one of 3 states, excuse me, one of 3 states that apparently they've reached a threshold in a high amount of sales, and so they had to charge sales tax. No big deal, but boy, this sure does look beautiful. If it performs the way this thing looks, and just from what I'm seeing on the outside, I'll be damn happy. So for now, I just got home after working kind of a long day, so I will fire this back up on another date, and we will take a look at this, a close-up of this unit, which I'm very happy with so far, just looking at the outside features. Very nice. Now, one thing that I found on a Takahashi Europe webpage is that it says it is imperative that the mechanical length of the 31.75 millimeter barrel does not exceed 31 millimeters in length, including any additional filters. The assembly could come into contact with the prism and damage it. And so as you can see here, with this eyepiece, we're right around 23 millimeters. So it is away from the 31. So you want to make sure that where this eyepiece sits in the prism, where it sits on top of that chrome ring, the collet, from that point forward, you want to make sure that you don't come to 31 millimeters. You want to stay under 31, and then you should be fine. So looking down, we can see where that prism is, and that's what they're talking about. So that when you put the eyepiece in there without a filter, it doesn't hit. And if you add a filter, and the filter has a thickness, a width, once you put it on that eyepiece that exceeds 31 millimeters, you will need to be very careful that it does not go in all the way, and that you keep it out further before you tighten it down. Here's a close-up of that ring that your eyepiece slides into, and you'll see the material there that they're using. That will compress. As you turn this down, that will then compress onto the eyepiece and grip it. Here you see that ring, that split ring, and it sits down into a taper, so that as you screw this collar down, it pushes it down into that taper, which then causes that gap to close, which in turn grips the eyepiece. So let me hold that as I close it here. Okay, you'll see it there, and then I'm going to hold this so it doesn't rotate. And as I turn this down, you'll see how that gap got smaller because it's pushing it down. And see there, it's almost closed. Okay, and see how that opens up then? So that's what that's doing for anybody that doesn't know how this works. Here you can see I've taken the collet and the piece that goes into the body of the turret off. And you would want to do that if you needed to get a better access to cleaning the turret. And let's get a better look at the inside of that. And then I'll rotate it for you. Now let's look through the 2-inch end. Now that looks like it is for 2-inch filters, but it is not. They do not thread in there. Those are just for keeping stray light at bay. Here you've seen I've taken the cap off of an eyepiece. Let me unscrew that once and we'll take that eyepiece out. In this next clip, guys, which is 1 minute 11 seconds, it was actually taken from a review video of the nPAE turret. So I thought I would include it here just to show you the difference, if you haven't seen that video, which I'll put a link to, the difference in the 1.25" opening of the nPAE to the major size difference to the 2-inch Takahashi, and how much more field of view it will allow to the eyepiece without any light cutoff. Let me try to present these both at the same time so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, there we go. So I wanted to show you individually, and now let's take a look at that together. It's a major difference, guys. Plus, when you have a larger nose piece, I believe that you would have a more rigid setup because you're going to have a larger diameter in which to clamp onto, and I feel that that would give you a better, more rigid setup than what an 1.25" provides. And even if it didn't, you clearly can see, as I showed, the marked difference that the Takahashi has with the 2-inch port nose piece versus the nPAE. Here you can see the adjusting screw with that cap off. Here we see that with the end with the ball, the spring-loaded ball. Here you see that cap. Once you've loosened it, you can take it off, and then that reveals the pressure screw. I don't know what you want to call it. And then that you can adjust. Clockwise would tighten it, counterclockwise would loosen it. And then you can simply put the cover back on and then tighten it with a screwdriver, give it a little bit of a snug. One thing you'll notice, this is the 6mm Delos. The undercut's a little bit different, so I have to bring it out away from the bottom and leave it out. And the same thing with the 10mm that I have on here also at the moment. Same thing, that I have to raise the eyepiece up instead of sitting where it normally would sit, which is right here, at the top of my fingernail. I've brought it up so that it clamps better. And some eyepieces will do that, some won't. Here you see the 17 and then the 14, and they're fine. I can bring them all the way down. Just something to take note of. It is nice having the painted dot, so that no matter where you turn this, or however this is positioned in your eyepiece focuser, you always know that where that white dot is going to be the eyepiece that will be used at that moment. Here's the 10mm on top. Next is the 6, 17.3, and then the 14. Now I do want to state that I have had it to where when I go to undo the collet, rotate it to loosen it, that it will actually stick to this black tube, which is threaded, and it goes into the main body, and this will come off with this. So I've had 2 of these do that. So I'll unscrew it, bringing that with it. I'll hold this once it's off, turn this, and then I'll put this on by itself, use a small strap wrench, and tighten this down and make sure that this is snug to the body. And then put your collar on, and then I have not had a problem after that. But you want to just make sure that maybe before you use it, that these are snug to the main body. And guys, this is the simple strap wrench that I used. You can buy these anywhere. This happens to be a Lowe's, a Cobalt model. I've had no issue whatsoever with these focusing, even though a couple of the eyepieces, as I said, had to be further out. I had no issues with this focusing. Now currently I'm using an Astrophysics 130 GTX, so no issues whatsoever while focusing with this Takahashi turret. Well, what are my thoughts on this Takahashi 4 eyepiece turret? This definitely is not something that I will use every observing session, but as with anything, you have different eyepieces for different situations, and this definitely has a place for me. I think it's quality built. The images it gives, very good. I'm extremely happy with this Takahashi turret.